fine evening. It's beautiful weather. Hope you enjoyed it, especially those who are out in the farm fields. Hope you enjoyed the brief pause in the cold weather. So it's quite nice. Um, Today, we're going to be hearing from some farmers throughout the watershed and their views and interests and how they like to farm. And we'll possibly talk about biosolids and PFAS, but for the most part, we're just going to have a nice round robin discussion about farming and what it means to these fine panelists. Um, so how things are going to be working, we're going to have a Q&A box, and as the panelists are speaking, we'd like you to enter in some questions for our panelists. If we can respond to them through the Q&A, we will do so. If not, I'll ask the question to our panelists or to a specific panelist and let them answer those questions. And this is going to be more of a discussion, so we're not going to have any PowerPoints or slides or anything like that. We're just going to have a good conversation about our farming practices. So I think to kick off the panelists, I'm going to start with Holly Hammond. Holly owns and operates Whisper Hill Farm in Scottsville, Virginia, where she and her team cultivate 4 acres of certified organic vegetables and 4 acres of cover crops each season. She seems super excited to be a part of this panel, and we're happy to have her. Holly, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Brent. And thanks, Potomac River Keepers, for doing this webinar and all the other panelists that are joining me. I'd like to just give you a little background on me and my experience with biosolids. So, Brent, let you know, I own and operate Whisper Hill Farm, and we're in Scottsville, Virginia. Um, a little background on me. I grew up in Wilcox, Arizona, to a family of farmers. My parents both owned and operated a U-Pick vegetable farm where we grew 80 acres of vegetables that we sold to the public. And it was a conventional farm, so I've been farming most of my life. After graduating college from Arizona State with a degree in business management, because of course, naturally, I could not do anything in farming. I ended up kind of missing farming and ended up moving to the East Coast, where kind of through a roundabout of experiences, I ended up finding a farm in Sperryville, Virginia, um, that did organic farming and was on a smaller scale. So I learned a lot about kind of market farming, and they also had a really interesting lease arrangement where they leased farmland and housing and infrastructure. And so they were able to focus their business without owning the land. And I was fortunate enough to find a landowner that season in 2009. Found a landowner who was willing to have a similar arrangement in Culpeper County. So in 2010, I started Whisper Hill Farm, and we leased about probably 30 acres. We were surrounded by farmland that was owned by the landowner, and they owned about 3,000 acres. And we farmed there for multiple years. Got our business started. It was really good. In that 5th year, I'll kind of just set the stage for what happened with biosolids, and I'm gonna just start calling them sludge from here on out because I feel like that is a more appropriate term for what is happening or what is actually being spread on our land. So it was a hot June day. If you can imagine, kind of that sweltering uh, heat, and we were picking squash, summer squash, and up roll these trucks. And we're like, huh, what are they doing? And they pull past our farm. So we were farming in river bottom land. And they kind of pull up along farmland that's above us. So we're surrounded by farmland. And they start spreading this slick, black, extremely smelly substance all over the fields up above us. Not on the land that we were farming, but up above us. Um, we were terrified and completely perplexed at what was happening, primarily because we never received any notification from our landowners. We never received any notification from DEQ. There was like, it just happened. We ended up calling our landowners that when it was happening, and conveniently, they were going out of the country to Switzerland. And we're like, yeah, we're spreading sludge. Um, at that point in 2014, I, of course, immediately got on Google, reached out to environmental groups, and honestly, I didn't get any better answers. There wasn't a lot of articles, there wasn't a lot of science. The environmental organizations basically didn't have a stance about it, and I felt completely, um, I think, unsupported and really at a loss at how to go move forward. Um, and at the same time, we had just tested our water. It was really high in nitrates prior to them spreading biosolids. So, um, after learning kind of about just heavy metals and kind of what was in sludge, which is like anything down drains, municipal waste, but also industrial waste can be mixed into what they spread on farmland. I did not want to stick around and be a guinea pig at that farm. It just felt really scary, not knowing and not having the science. And I felt like my health, the health of my customers, and the health of the soil was at risk. Thankfully, I was able to find a landowner in Albemarle County who had a 1,200 acre certified organic operation, and they were looking to kind of transition it to new, essentially kind of farmers who would take over and lease from them, which has been a really, really amazing. I've been here 10 years, and being certified organic, you cannot spread biosolids. You cannot spread sludge on your land. As we have learned from Maine farmers, it can be spread on your land prior, which is problematic, but it cannot be actively spread while you have organic certification. So I think that's a really important point for people who are leasing land, um, to have at least kind of some kind of agreement that that won't be spread. Because as I feel like we've learned in these other webinars, it is affecting people's health in their water, etc. And so since that time, I've become a fierce advocate to not spread sludge on farmland. Just a few years ago, some concerned kind of a grassroots group started in Albemarle County called Don't Spread on Me. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. Um, but basically, we are trying to work at a local level and a state level, and hopefully at a federal level to ban sludge on farmland. So that's my intro.
Great, great, Holly. Thank you very much. And next we have on the list, folks, Robb Hinton. Now, Robb's theory is to do more with nature. He's got family farming in the blood, been doing it for 22 years, and he's down in the Rappahannock watershed. And Robb, I think you had a little bit of a limelight there not too long ago with interview with the international news media. So that was very informative. So, Robb, take it away.
Yes. So I've been farming for about 22 years. I farm 1,500 acres, small greens, corn, and soybeans. Uh, my family has been involved with, farming and working the land forever. They've had sawmills, they've had tomato canning factories. We've grown row crops. It's been my whole life. I've been on a farm, uh, you know, for 40 some years. I started my own farming operation back in 2003. So it has grown over the years. I realized when I first started farming that I wanted to better understand economics of farming. And to do that, I started immediately investing in a lot of technology with my equipment purchases. And through all these years, we have collected so much data that I can tell you every inch of every farm. But the only way to really use that is to have someone who has the knowledge to put that to use. And I was fortunate enough years ago to have the state agronomist for Virginia, Chris Lawrence, brought a young man to my office. I hired him as my full-time agronomist. He has a master's degree. He has taught me over all these years, uh, a whole lot about row crop production. And as you said, we have learned over the years that everything is, sometimes I feel like we get in the way of nature with big time farming. And through the use of cover crops and organic things like that, we have learned to get away from some of these synthetic fertilizers and different chemicals. We have learned by gathering all this information how to put the right amount of investment in the right spot. And that is good business. That is good agronomy. When these people put these biosolids out on these fields, they go out and they probe some land, they probe a spot, and hey, they're a waste management company, right? Their job is to get rid of as much of this as possible. They are not an agronomic company. They don't pretend to be. Their job is to solely get rid of this stuff. It concerns me that we don't really know what's in this. I am not affected by biosolids as far as I know. We have never used them. I have no intention of using them. We have looked at them several times over the years, my agronomist and I, and their main concerns for biosolids was really nothing more than pH concerns and compaction concerns. It wasn't until over a year or so ago that a good friend of mine who happens to be a waterman, started. People come to me and ask me my opinion on things. They know I'm very environmental with the way I farm and my history with that. And they started telling me about these forever chemicals. And then my agronomist and I looked at it and, whoa, scared to death. Started hearing stories all around the country of things that were going on. And, it's very concerning. And it concerns me that this is never discussed publicly. Not that I'm in a group of people, that they don't ask me about this. Farmers, not many of it do it around here. But it bothers me that this sort of thing is going on. We don't know enough about it. And when we do our nutrient management plans, we're concerned about putting the right amount of fertilizers or chemicals or whatever in the right spot, doing good agronomy. We submit these plans to the Soil and Water Conservation District, so they know what we're doing. And when you talk to them, they don't talk about biosolids. You go to a farmer meeting or something, some conference, nobody talks about it. To me personally, I kind of enjoy, not that I like big government, but I enjoy being able to have a relationship with government, people who are, educated in such things, and tell them what we're doing. We do feedback. I let them know a lot about the extensive cover crops that I do to help them learn, help other people learn. And it just bothers me that they never come out and say, think about this. There is potential risk in this. So, the poor waterman, he's out there, he gets nothing out of this. He doesn't get to fertilize a crop. He gets runoff. And I'm started off being super concerned for them. I still am. Obviously, seafood industry is huge in Virginia, and agriculture is huge, and just begs the question, if these two industries are so vital to the economy of Virginia, why don't they talk about this more? So again, I don't plan on using this product. I plan on listening and finding out what's going on. And I just want the guy who does use it, to understand that it's not all good. I understand the economics of farming very well. I understand where we are in today's, agricultural community. I understand that very well. So I don't fault anyone for using that, but I feel like these companies are preying on that to some degree, and it concerns me that a farmer could get in big trouble with this, and ultimately, the public at large with food safety, and so that's why I'm here, just to say that I'm a farmer who's not jumping up and down about this. I'm a farmer who wants to see it be more, public about the potential dangers of this. That's my story.
Thanks, Rob. I really do appreciate it. There was a question in the Q&A about specifically Do you use fertilizers of any kind?
I do. We use synthetic fertilizers, but over all of our years of measuring yield in all of these fields, we know where we need more, we need less. We variable rate all of our fertilizers and limes over the years. We variable rate everything that we have, our seeds, everything. And I have cut down my fertilizer bill quite a bit. I've cut down my need for chemicals and weed suppression. I use very generous government programs for cover crops. I have been working on these cover crops very hard for 12 years, learning how to work with them and get the most out of them. And I would encourage every farmer. I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't believe that your excuse should be there's no other option than getting this product. Uh, there are other options. So I would highly encourage farmers to go out there and explore those options with cover crops and get benefits fertilizer wise out of natural things.
Thanks, Rob. I really appreciate your views. For our next panelist, we're going to go to Sam White. Sam White and his wife, Amanda Paul, operate Leaning Pine Farm in the mountains of Maryland, just northwest of Cumberland. Leaning Pine Farm is a cow-calf operation that also markets and sells grass-finished beef throughout the year. As a dairy farm, beginning in 1938, the farm switched to selling hay and beef in 2003, and it was the first farm in the Mid-Atlantic region to adopt contour plant plowing, the first dairy farm in Maryland, Virginia Producers Co-op to switch to artificial insemination, and one of the first cattle farms in the U.S. to reach the soil health goal of a hay field containing 20% soil organic matter. And I don't know how he finds time after all of that to enjoy his time on the farm with his family and relaxing. So good on
I
you,
don't.
Sam, for being able to do that, and everybody else out there. So, Sam, we want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and any thoughts you have on biosolids or the like.
Well, sure. We haven't had biosolids on our farm, but all of our neighbors have. And can you hear me okay, first of all? Because the low network bandwidth came up.
There's a little bit of a slight delay.
Of course, it started right when I'm talking.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as long as you can hear me, I'll keep talking then. So this is not my family's farm. It's my wife's family's farm. So one says, hey, can I talk to the owner? And I would like to do, yeah, good talk to her. And it boggles their mind sometimes when they have to talk to a woman, but I enjoy that. But anyway, my wife and I took over the farm when her father and uncle passed away, and we were the last two remaining. But I remember specifically when I came here, when I came to the farm, we were still a dairy farm. And when I got first time I was asked to do something, it was to start handling the winter feeding. My late father-in-law, late uncle-in-law were both recovering from surgeries. And so it was my job to start feeding, climb up the silo, unstick the silo, unplug the silo, unload her, and then take the manure out. And we used a WD-45, take the manure out, no matter what time of the year it was, cold as it was, that was my job. And but I remember the first time I got on the tractor, sat on the tractor, and you can imagine a hardened dairy farmer that's stressed out and a little grumpy, telling you the following. He said, "Don't make ruts." And that was the philosophy behind Pine Farm, to not make ruts. And he explained to me, which I already knew because I grew up and I understood how to look at land and make sure I wasn't going to cause any erosion. But we didn't accept them immediately just because we knew it wasn't natural. One, two, we were spreading manure, and that was our and 3, we were worried about compaction. And we're glad we didn't. We were when we did. My son's having a meltdown. Perfect timing. But anyway, when they showed up at the neighbor's farm, it was not like a 3-axle dump truck. It was a tractor and trailer with a very heavy load that required a 200 horsepower tractor to spread the biosolids, and that's what we have experienced up here. Our neighbors that have done it, well, the people in the know, like all the farmers that work at the local soil conservation district, they won't do it because our biosolids are heavy on salt. So the spray, it's a spray, and you only can do 1 inch on your fields, and you only can do it once every 10 years you could do it. And if you did any more than that, if there was a leak or something like that, something happened to that tank, you're essentially screwed because you're going to have serious production problems. So that's and of course the stink was rather annoying. But now we've noticed the people that there's only one other farmer we know that did it again, and the guy is an elderly hay farmer who can't afford the fertilizer use, but we because he just does hay. One thing we've learned, of course, he's only selling like a single monocrop hay. What we've learned with our hay is we are increasing our biodiversity in our hay. We make sure we have at least 2 types of clovers, and we like to have 3 types of grasses. And then as long as we do that, and then especially before October, if we graze that field at least once, cut it off for first cutting, and then we'll go back and we'll graze that field at live, a really heavy stocking rate of about 100,000 pounds. We use polywire, and we'll graze all of our cow-calf herd on that. If we do that, we will see we see tremendous forage growth, and to the point where we've gotten to the point where we're minimizing manure spreading as well. I could keep going on and on, but I'm going to stop right there for now.
Thanks, Sam. I really do appreciate it. And we've always had those times where the background noise the kids just don't cooperate. So no worries on that either. Interesting. Before I get to some of the online questions, one thing that did pop up, a theme in all 3, I think, is compaction. Could one of you kind of explain the issue with compaction and biosolids and what that means for those out there that aren't farmers and in the know? Rob, Sam, anybody?
Yeah, I'll tackle
I
that.
saw Holly was unmuted. Okay, there you go.
Go ahead, Rob, and then follow it up with Sam or Holly.
So my concern with compaction is that, these guys put this stuff down in the wintertime and in the early spring. And typically it hasn't worked so well the last few years, but typically, we get a lot of moisture in the wintertime to charge their soils up. And so they've got moisture. Well, your compaction is greatest when you have moisture in the soil. You don't compact something when it's rock hard and dried out. So they're doing this heavy weight on soft, waterlogged ground, compacting the soil. They're causing ruts, which Sam knows about that, and so you have compaction, you have these ruts. What have you done? You need to fix that. You're gonna spend some money on deep tillage to fix that compaction. You might spend $50 an acre to fix that. You're gonna have to bring out some tillage device that solves the problem of these ruts. That all has expenses. That promotes erosion, everything else. And I'm a big soil health guy, so I like no-till. I like trying to stay out of, tilling this ground as much as possible. I like those, biological connections in the ground. It's a lot of biology you mess with when you go doing all that stuff. So, there are a lot of drawbacks to all that weight compacting that soil.
Gotcha. Holly, do you have anything?
Well, yeah, I just kind of want to touch on the fact also that what we've learned in previous webinars is forever chemicals. So it's a carbon and fluorine bond. They're the strongest bond that exists. And in fact, microbes cannot break them down. And they might try to start breaking them down, but then they die from like fluorination poisoning. So we're also hurting our soil from a point of compaction, but also microbes. They're dying when we spread forever chemicals on our land. So, I mean, we're not getting that benefit when we do those things as well.
Dan, you have any words on that, on the compaction?
Yeah, I took my video off, so hopefully you can hear me better now.
Oh, sounds better. Excellent.
Oh, okay. Well, now you can't see what I'm doing, so this is good. The when it comes to say biodiversity in our hay fields, and I bring up hay fields because that's of all the cattle farmers I know that are spreading biosolids, it's not on their pastures. What does that tell you? They're not spreading it on their pastures; they're only spreading it on their hay fields. And pastures. When you do a soil, when you do your nutrient management plan, you do your soil tests. The pastures, depending on how you manage them, can be much less have much less nutrients in the soil than the hay does. So you have to manage it properly. Same thing goes with the hay field. And when you compact, you are squeezing the oxygen that's in the soil out of that ground. And when you do that, the nutrients that are in there, the organic nutrients they need certain they need protozoa, they need certain they need microzoa, they mycorrhiza, they need all those various functions in the soil biology to be there. And if they are there, it will recycle the nutrients properly. But you can't do that when you compact. And in 2018, we had all that rain. Remember all that rain in 2018? And I remember, I gotta go cut that hay field. And I did, and I compacted it tremendously. And it put me back. Well, it put me back. It put me back until 2022 to get that hay field back to where it was supposed to be because of the compaction.
It seems also the issue with compaction.
Same thing for
and then having to.
select.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done there, Sam.
I was.
Okay. The other thing that seems to me with the issue with compaction, then like Robin suggested, and Sam as well, having to retill and get your fields and soil back into that ability to grow your crop. You're also, if you do have biosolids in that and PFAS in the biosolids, you're putting that PFAS deeper into the soil to where it could leach further into the ground. And then obviously Rob had also talked about increases erosion. So you're having more erosion of PFAS and sediment particles going into your neighboring streams. So that's definitely another issue. One of the questions that came up, and have any of you had your well tested for PFAS or interested in doing that? Do you know of any other farms around you that are interested in testing their wells for PFAS at all?
I have not. I don't, as I say, I don't have any land around here that has had biosolids, but I do understand that I believe Soil and Water maybe has a free test kit where you can do that. People should look into that.
We have springs up here. We don't have wells. We have springs, and It's not something I've thought about, but it's something I should, because spring, the water source can go for miles.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So thanks to whoever asked that. I appreciate it.
So another general question from that's out in the Q&A is, how do we address the issue of without bringing negative attention to farmers from the general public? So I would imagine the issue meaning the issue of biosolids and PFAS and that. Any thoughts, Holly?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty passionate about not demonizing farmers for doing this. I really honestly think that they've been sold a bad bill of sale. I don't think they realize what's in it. And so I think that's a really, really important part of this is that um, if we just need more support for farmers. We need more testing. We need, like what Maine has done, is set up funding for people. We need that safety network set up before farms are going to test. And before, I just think you're not going to get anyone to test their fields without that safety net and that support. And I think that's really, really important. To lay out, I think, for lawmakers at that, like, I think advocacy and policy making have to go hand in hand with this, because we can't be making farmers the bad guy, really. I mean,
Right.
it's just, I don't think we were aware. I mean, when it happened to me, I mean, I was worried about like heavy metals. I had, like, PFAS was not in the public consciousness.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really important step in this, is that we have to be there supporting farmers.
Sam, Rob, any thoughts?
Well, to me, that's where I
Sorry,
think the government needs to step in and talk directly to these farmers, because the farmers are going to be blamed regardless. You're not going to get away from that, and that's really sad. But I think we need to work together. I think the farmer needs to be told, and if the farmer's told and he chooses to use it, well, you know what? Maybe his name ought to be on the permit. Uh, if you believe in something, you'll put your name on it.
Right.
And if you're gonna take something that you don't fully believe in, and just say, oh well, you know what, nothing's gonna happen to me, that's not right in my opinion. And you're gonna have a liability one way or the other, whether you put your name on it or not. The liability could potentially be contaminated soil, or and you're out of business. Of course, that's maybe worst case scenario. I don't want to scare anybody to death, but these things have happened over in this country, and they're happening. Seems like every time you turn around, there's another story somewhere. There's nothing special about our area, the state of Virginia, that's going to limit us from having this problem. So I really think I look to the government to work hand in glove with me on my nutrient management, and I think they ought to work hand in glove with me on educating me on the potential risk of biosolids. And if I'm going to do it, then I ought to put my name on it.
Right. Sam, you have any thoughts?
No, it's hard to beat what Holly and Rob said. But
Yeah.
Yeah, how do we address this? Yeah, I mean, any farm, though I've only known 2 farmers now that have reapplied them, and they did it because of their economic situation. So we need, I feel like we need to give, especially the government, especially our soil conservation districts, need to give farmers the knowledge to how to not use them and why they shouldn't use them, and especially financially. Here's how you can do it financially and improve the bottom line of your farm. That's what we're all trying to do.
Sure.
For one, we're trying to take care of the land that we've been given, and 2, we're trying to do it economically.
Sure, definitely. And it's always been my experience that with like Soil Conservation Service and other local and state agricultural representatives, it's always them waiting for the farmer to come to them with the questions. There's rarely a lot of forward thinking and pushing out answers to questions that may not be out there, just information. Has that been your experience as well? Or is that just something I've been feeling from
Well, I
outside?
I know who your extension agent is, and he does a tremendous job of getting those thoughts and questions out there. And I've been a benefactor of that myself.
Mhm.
Um, we have in our region, there's two types of farmers: farmers that want left alone, and farmers that want to learn. And that is, I think that's the case everywhere.
Sure.
And so, how do you get the question? I think the $1 million question is, how do you get that information to the farmers that want left alone without stepping on their toes? No, I don't have the answer for that.
All right. Any other thoughts, Holly and Rob?
Not necessarily.
No? It's all right. That's fine.
We're going down the rabbit hole in that one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. A couple other questions on here. Let's see. What is the best guess for additional crop production due to sludge? And what is the downside if no fertilizers are used? Period, I guess. I mean, I'm guessing that question is no fertilizers or no sludge. Any takers?
Again, I kind of think that's a false choice on like you either have to spread sludge or your crops aren't going to grow. Like people have not people have grown food without sludge. I mean, what Rob's doing, what I'm doing, there's cover cropping. There are quite a few different ways to manage fertility on farmland. I don't think sludge, it has to be sludge. And I just think we also need to be taking into account the actual cost of these things. Like it's free, right? But like, is it, I mean, if it's spreading, if the forever chemicals are on it, poisoning the land and our food source, like, is that really worth it? So I think we are like, when that question arises, or like, what are we going to do with the sludge? To put that back on the farmers is so like erroneous. Like we aren't responsible for wastewater and waste and what's happening in city. Like why are we having to figure that out? That seems just like a really unfair situation that many rural communities experience. And I just think that it's, you know, I care about it because I live in a rural area and I don't want it spread on new land and spread around me. But I also think the consumer ought to care about it because they're eating food from land that has been spread with biosolids. Like we're all connected in this. And to me, yeah, just like that we can't farm without sludge is a false narrative.
Gotcha.
Completely. And there are people in this country who have been cover cropping and doing a lot with nothing, using the organic compost of their cover crops to provide their fertilizer. To me, I can't do that on our soils here. We need something. We use a little bit of everything. But I will say that good business and good agronomics is finding out how much to invest in each spot. Your field is, it is complicated. There are good and bad spots there. We've learned this over the years with all the data we've collected from our equipment. We don't treat everything as a blanket. It's not one size fits all. When I first started farming, was naive, didn't know. I'm still naive as can be to a lot of things to this. But the fertilizer salesman would come in my office and he'd say, "All right, this is A, this is B, and this is C. These are the three different blends that we're offering." which one do you want? You know, well, the fertilizer salesman, much like the people who put this stuff down, well, they can give you the Cadillac. You can go for the most expensive one, whether you need it or not. But they used to say, old timers used to say, you know, you over fertilize, you're putting money in the bank. I don't know that that's the case. When a glass is full, it's pretty much full. You don't need to you don't need to run it off. That land that you might have wanted to invest in with extra fertilizers, in today's world, you may not be farming it next year.
Right.
To me, the way they do this, and just so people know, I'm reading some of these questions here, and know that the soil and water conservation districts, they don't spread this stuff. They don't talk about it, right? I think personally they'd like to, because these are good people. These are good, educated people. They know what's going on. It has come to my attention, which is very surprising to me, that, believe it or not, these companies that put these biosolids out, they have employees. Now, granted, they are a waste management company. They are not an agronomic company. They are not a fertilizer company. Whatever, have nothing to do with agronomics. They are simply getting rid of a byproduct that is difficult. I understand. But they are allowed to have their own staff get educated in some fashion to go out there and probe your land, take a soil sample of your land, and they are allowed to write a nutrient management plan for your land. A waste company is allowed to write a nutrient management plan for your land and tell you how much you can apply of that waste. And that shocked me. There ought to be another party involved with that. In case you don't know, if you're taking a soil sample, I can make that sample say whatever I want it to say. I can go to the poor spot in the field multiple times. I can mix that, do different depths to pull different things. I can make that, tell you whatever I want you to know. So that is the fox guarding the hen house anyway. Then I find out that, my agronomist goes right there, takes an iPad and a GPS and probes all these specific locations. We know exactly what is going on. And we turn that into soil and water in the form of a nutrient management plan. I am told that soil and water has never, ever seen a nutrient management plan from these companies that put these biosolids on. Why is that? You're letting the waste management company put on as much as they can to get rid of this product. That's not good agronomics. That's not good management, economic management in any way you look at it. So it galls me that this is happening, that Virginia is letting this happen. It's beyond me. And I tell you, I was at a meeting, and a farmer was on this call, and he was talking about his experience. He had no idea that soil and water never got to look at his nutrient management plan from these companies who put biosolids on his plan. I don't understand.
Well, I understand about the fox guarding the hen house. I mean, in small potatoes, I was out actually collecting soil samples today for my nutrient management plan on my small farm. And, it's like you're looking at your field going, all right, where do I collect a sample? And I can see where you can misrepresent your field, for sure. And, fox guarding the hen house, unfortunately, that is the name of the game when it comes to all discharge permits. That, when you have dischargers out there that are collecting samples, and on a quarterly or weekly or monthly basis and sending them to the state agency. And, you always wonder if they're actually legit in where they're sampling and how often they're sampling. One interesting question, and it's always been a question too within our organization when we're messaging about PFAS and biosolids and sludge, is what's the best term to use, sludge or biosolids? And is biosolids kind of like the greenwashing of dirty poop? What are your all's thoughts on what's the best language? And along with that, what is a good way to start getting the message out there to other farmers? Because if, especially from, your recommendation for organizations, watershed organizations like ours, um, if you could follow up with that'd be great. Any thoughts? Yeah, Holly. Oh, you're on mute.
I do think biosolids was a term coined by the wastewater industry. So, yes, I
Yep.
think it is greenwashing. I think when you tell people, like when I tell people about biosolids, when I use that term, they literally think it's totally safe. And it's very like green, right? And I think obviously not all wastewater and all biosolids are from industrial waste, but oftentimes they are mixed. It's municipal waste and then industrial waste. So
Right.
I think you have to know the source of where the biosolids are coming from. I just like using sludge because I just think it's in your face. And honestly, most sludge is mixed waste and it does have PFAS in it. Um, so I think that, yeah, I think that is how I refer to it because I just don't, I don't think it's an appropriate term. I think it makes it sound a lot better than it is, biosolids.
Any other thoughts, Rob, Sam?
Well, after going to a few meetings, and I've met the lawyer for one of these companies who spread this, and you know, you never you're never going to really. They do commingle this stuff, and they want to test at the treatment plant. They commingle it. You don't know where it's coming from. The lawyers and everybody, they all want to say how expensive it is to test and that it's everywhere. These forever chemicals, PFAS, whatever, it's everything you do. And I understand that. Uh, but don't sit there and tell me that the cost is too high to test these things. They ought somebody figure out how to test it extremely cheaply, test it at the site where it's going. Let that farmer know exactly what is in this. When you talk about cost, it's a slap in the face. The cost of public health, the cost of losing farmland, that is some real cost there. Your test costs nothing compared to what the potential contamination for some of these things is. So, yeah, whatever you call it, biosolids is probably sugarcoating it. But my goodness, get to knowing exactly what is in this. And if that land is no different than you putting food in your body. You don't just throw everything in your mouth and hope it all works out.
Right.
You don't just go throw everything on your land and hope it works out. You got to cultivate this land. You got to really massage this and go about it the right way. If you want to hold on to that land, you want to make it productive, make some money, make good food for the public, you got to really take care of it. This not knowing what you're putting out there is not what I consider taking care of.
Sam, you're off mute. You have thoughts?
Well, I've been going through the Q&A and reading all the other
Oh,
concerning
please.
questions, but
Yeah, if you have some answers to
yeah,
questions, it'd be great.
well, someone mentioned that their original question was about hay fields, and then can you grow without? Can you have a productive hay ground without biosolids or fertilizer? Well, you definitely can do it with the fertilizer. And I know a lot of farmers up here that I say up here because I'm up here in Appalachia where it's even more conservative, where they don't do soil testing. They just go down to southern states, and southern states sell them. Here's what you need. You need this. You need this 10-10-10 or this 20-20-20. Here's how many tons you need per acre. Well, what southern states know how much I need? They don't know. They only know how much they need to sell. So if you're going to do the fertilizer, do regular fertilizer, and then but make sure you get a soil testing done so you know what you need. And but that's one way. The other way is if you're just a hay farmer and you're not doing livestock, the other option is you can actually rent out your ground and say, hey, after I've done the first cutting, there's lots of grazers out there that want to graze hay land, and they'll pay you. And so instead of doing second cutting, have someone come in. They'll pay you more than what you're going to make for that second cutting hay, because you're not making very much making that second cutting. We all know what it costs to make second cutting. But if you go find someone to come and do graze your land properly, no shorter than 4 inches, preferably 6 inches, but it being hay ground, you probably want to take it down to 4 inches, no shorter than that, and do it with proper grazing management. You will have an excellent, I guarantee you, because I've done it too on farm we've rented. You will have an excellent hay crop the next year, and for the next couple of years, actually. So that's my 2 cents. Or 25 cents.
Well, we appreciate you guys' time. And I think, a lot of what you've spoken today about helping farmers really make some decisions and information chain. Where is it coming from? Who's it getting to who? And bringing up on this webinar, one of the main themes of our organization and putting together a new campaign is called Farmers Right to Know, because along with you, we're really passionate about making sure that that information is available to all the farmers that are out there so they can have the knowledge before they make decisions, because I think knowledge is power. I'm pretty sure everyone can agree on that. So we have 8 minutes left. I was hoping to give last words to each of our panelists. If you want to throw in some answers to any of the questions that you see on the board, I'm sorry, folks, that we're not going to be able to get to all of them. Um, we'll do our best to kind of answer as we end this. But if you want to give your last few spots of information for the group, that'd be great. I'm going to start off with Holly.
Sure. I think that often we are, as farmers, kind of just like, what do we do about this? What if I have spread it? And I really think we need a comprehensive strategy from a state level, but also a federal level. But we need to be operating from a more precautionary standpoint. Like right now, it's just kind of generally recognized as safe. We're just going to do it. But the Europeans are doing a great job of it in just terms of like that kind of turns it upside down. And they're like, prove to us that it is safe. And like with sludge, I think it is too permanent. It is forever chemicals that are laden in this, that we have to do that. We have to be more precautionary because literally it is in your soils forever. And there is no way to treat soil. As we've also learned in these other webinars, you can do oxidation for water. There are ways to take it out of water, but literally there aren't ways to get it out of soil. Microbes cannot defluorinate this. They die. So it's really imperative that we stop spreading it. And a huge passion of mine is to not put it on any new farmland. A fifth of America's farmland has been spread with sludge, and we like literally cannot afford to spread it on any more new land. It is like it's just imperative for the health of our soil and our community's health, because there isn't anything that can break it down.
Thank you. Yes. Sam, you're next. Last words.
If anyone that I don't blame any farmer that's spread biosolids, because I know the economic predicament you're in. I'm a cow-calf operator. I know what that's like. That's why I still have a day job. But there's a way to get around it, and that is, I would highly recommend if you're in the cow-calf operation or if you have hay fields, I I personally, my number one source has been a company called Understanding Ag. It was founded on regenerative ag principles. They have some fact sheets out there, and they will help you. I highly recommend you go there with an open mind and see what they've done. One of their guys was a row crop farmer, for example, that went. He switched to doing a certain cover crop mixture, and he won the North Carolina corn growers contest one year without any with just doing organic fertilizers. And then for my case, I've been able to grow enough hay without even manure, with proper grazing. I've been able to grow enough hay. In one spot I did what was it, 16 4x5 bales in a half acre. So it all depends on how you manage it. And so there, go out there with an open eye, or reach out to me, and I'll gladly help you understand the economic predicament you're in. And but biosolids is not the answer. It's not the way. It's not the way. It's not what we're here to take care of our land, and we know for a fact we're not taking care of our land when we do that. So take care of our land and take care of our family. In the long run, biosolids isn't there for that.
Great. Thank
That's all I
you.
have to say.
Thank you very much, Sam. Appreciate it. Rob?
So to close out here, I'm reading one of the questions. Is the ag lobby protecting air farmers from the liabilities associated with modern biosolids? That's a really good one. And that's probably why I'm even here in the first place. I don't know there's any protection to the farmer. Certainly there's no education. The ag lobby, what is the ag lobby? So I would have thought Farm Bureau, they have a lobbyist. I would have thought he's the ag lobby. Well, Farm Bureau, Sonagro, and the Manhattan industry share the same lobbyist. I don't understand that. And I tell you, if you haven't learned anything in today's world, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's public perception more than it has ever been in history. You can shout nonsense all you want. Sooner or later, I won't get into politics, but you shout it loud enough, long enough, people are just going to assume it's right. You don't think Frank Perdue or the Perdue family over there in Salisbury, Maryland, they're already contaminated some of their land, from what I understand reading an article. So much so that they're buying water for people in several mile radius. You think Perdue being associated with biosolids is a good thing? I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm pretty sure they don't like that. There's enough heat on this. Public perception is biosolids bad. Purdue's got biosolids. Purdue's going to come up with a test to test biosolids. If you've had it on your land, tests can show a lot of stuff you never knew was out there. Come up with a test that says it's bad. They don't want your grain. How are you going to get away from that? They're going to find out you raised it here. There's going to be a trail. And don't think that these companies who put it down are going to be footing the bill. They're going to pack up, go away. You want to watch something. You want to educate yourself. And I did not know this, but there's a movie out there I highly recommend. It's called Dark Waters. It's the story of Teflon, 3M, DuPont. Teflon, it is what is the 8-chain molecule? Is an unbreakable molecule, just like we have in this PFAS. You can't get rid of it. Those people are still getting sued. They'll be sued forever. But the fact is, there's so damn much money in it that they can handle the lawsuits. I don't know if these people who put this stuff on land, if they can handle those lawsuits that long, if it's that great. But I'm going to tell you, you're going to be stuck with it. If you're a farmer and you're putting this on your land, even if it's good, bad, and different, if the public decides that it's a bad thing, somebody's going to come up with a test. potentially that test could be directed at you and that could cause you problems.
Yeah.
So I'm just concerned for the farmer who goes down this path. I don't fault them at all. I know the economics, looks like Sam had said. I realize that, but just know that this thing could have a potentially long coattail and that you can never get out of. You're going to be the one stuck with it. It's in your land. That's a big
Yep.
problem.
Yeah, and it's it's not been our organization's intent to really say that we don't think that any farmer should use biosolids and we should ban all biosolids whatsoever. I guess what we're trying to say and what I'm hearing from many of you is people have the right to know what's in the biosolids. And I think if we are to ever to get to use biosolids in some, and have a safe level of use of biosolids, we have to reduce the pollutants that are going into the biosolids. And we have to do something about reduction of PFAS pre-treatment before it gets into the sewer system. We have to reduce the products that we use residentially in our public waters that have PFAS in it. All of that, stopping it at the source is going to reduce PFAS before it gets into the treatment plants, and that'll ultimately reduce it very low, if not eliminate it, before it gets into biosolids. So that's definitely something that we're thinking. We're not in the market or the messaging of banning all biosolids, but I thank you all for attending, being panelists, and sharing your view openly. We really, really do appreciate it. And thank you all out there for attending this webinar. And I hope you learned something, and I hope you pass it on, because spreading the message and spreading awareness is really what we're all about. So thank you very much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you on another webinar. Thank you.
you.